Vincent, it looks like the Department of Justice has sharpened the rhetoric against BP over the Gulf of Mexico again, trying to prove gross negligence. I mean, how bad has it become?
Well, if you look at what has happened so far between the US and BP over the Macondo oil well spill or leak in 2010, I mean, obviously both sides have been sort of trying to set out their stalls because the issue is coming to trial in January. There's this big civil trial going on in New Orleans starting next January that will decide what caused it and who was responsible for the spill. What has happened over the last sort of 24 hours is that the Department of Justice has kind of upped the rhetoric and said we intend to prove that gross negligence was involved. The reason why that's significant is because if gross negligence is proved, the financial penalties on BP will be much higher than if gross negligence is not a factor. So it really matters.
Right, okay. I mean, my understanding was that BP had already made quite a lot of provisions for this, but are you saying that it could get much, much worse?
Well, BP has set aside $38 billion so far, but that's in relation to a whole load of things to do with individual settlements, immediate costs of the cleanup, the $20 billion trust fund that was created by Congress to pay for all these things, etc., etc. So all of that is involved there. There's a lot still outstanding in this, in the aftermath of this spill, in terms of the financial cost to BP and indeed to the other companies that are still, parties to the accident. I think what you have right now is the Department of Justice being very clear about its stance on this, and it's happening in the context of the Republican and the Democratic conventions both being held in the South this year, and it's an election year. So, this will have sort of a lot of public reverberations, I think, for BP and for the Department of Justice and for the US position on the accident itself.
Right, okay. But this isn't the only thing going on for BP right now. Obviously they've got TNK in Russia. So, I mean, if that goes and they've increased their dependence on the Gulf of Mexico, this is not looking that good.
Exactly. I mean, this is what's at stake for BP here, because its position in Russia is totally up in the air. Will it or will it not sell its TNK BP stake? In which case, if it does sell, it becomes very, very dependent on the Gulf of Mexico. And so it's very important that BP remain a player in the Gulf of Mexico, and that's why it needs, a relatively favourable settlement from the US, but it can't really afford to fall out with the US to the extent that, its reputation in the Gulf of Mexico is fatally damaged by whatever settlement is reached between BP and the US over the Macondo incident.
Right, okay. So the Department of Justice have sort of properly sharpened the rhetoric for BP and things are looking more serious now. Thanks, Vincent.